Hello everyone, I welcome you all back to my channel. Today I'm going to be teaching you this exact skirt you're seeing on your screen in the most simplest form ever. So let's get started. Welcome back. I used 4 yards of Ankara fabric and a yard of my lining. What you are going to do is I actually cut the lining into two so that you'll be able to understand I'm supposed to cut it at once. I fold it into two like this, and then I came down by 13 inches because I want 13 inches to be each layer of the skirt. You know, it is in 4 pieces, 13 inches like that, and then I use that to get my actual skirt length. I'm working with 42 inches length for my skirt, then I had half inch seam allowance for the joining of the band. The remaining part is what I will divide into three, which is 29. So I divided 29 into 3, and that is 9.8, I guess, and that is what I'm marking right now. So the 13 inches I measured downward earlier is because the lining is not going to reach there, and it's just the Ankara fabric that will replace the lining. After I have gotten that, I mark that out in order for you to understand what I'm trying to say. First, second, third, and fourth for the last part. The next thing for us to do is to get the wideness of the lining. I'm working with my waist over here. My waist is 28 divided by 4. That is 14 inches. Sorry, that is 7 inches, which I'm going to mark now. And then you are going to add another extra allowance. I used 9 in the video, but I later used 6 at the end of the day because the fabric I worked with is not enough. So if you want yours to be as wide as possible, you might actually use extra 9 inches for the ease, but I used 6 because I later trimmed off 3 inches out of the 9 that I used. I hope that is well explained. After that, I cut it into two like this, the same size and the same shape. The next thing for me to do is to rule that 3 lines out properly so that when I'm gathering the lining on it, so that is what I'm trying to do over here. So when you are gathering it on it, you will know when to stop and where to gather it on. Please subscribe to my channel, please, it means a lot to me. The next thing for us to do now is to cut out our Ankara fabric. Remember that I said I used 4 yards of Ankara fabric, and what I'm going to do now is that I'll pick only 3 yards because all the lines will be of 3 yards. And this is when I already folded my 3 yards like this in order for me to cut it out. So what's next for me to do is to measure 40 inches for the upper part, for the second part, and then for the third part, because my 14 inches can contain all of the parts on this 45 inches long of the Ankara. I know we all know that. And the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to be cutting the last part on the remaining 1 yard fabric that I think you add with this. Because the Ankara fabric is 4 yards, that is why I managed it. If you have XX, you can just cut it, like if you have enough fabric, you can just cut 3 yards for your each layer. So this is what I'm trying to do. So I already marked 14 inches for the 3 parts over here. 1, 2, and 3, and that is it for this. The next thing I'm going to do is to work on the remaining 1 yard that I'm going to show you. This is what I did for the remaining 1 yard. I cut it out and then I cut it into 3. Do you understand? 1 yard, 1 yard, 1 yard, that makes it 3 yards. So I'm going to be joining the last part, and that will be for the last part. this one I'm going to cut out now will be for the fourth layer because I joined them. I don't want it to show on the first and the second layer. So after I'm done doing that, I marked out 14 inches each for the 1 yard, and you will see what I mean by that. So after I'm done marking that out, I will cut it out into three. Like I said earlier, I'm going to join it. The next thing for me to do is to so let us count it now. 2 and then 3 and then 4 plus the band. I used just 1 inch for the band. You can decide to use 2. The next thing for me to do is to join it, and then I'm just going to explain briefly on how I join them and everything like that. Where I marked over there is where I cut into 2 after I joined both sides together in order for me to be able to sew it perfectly without stress, since I'm not going to cut it at the side. So right now I'm just trying to place the Ankara on it and which each part represents, so that you can have a full idea on what I mean. So the first, second, third, fourth, I know we all understand that now. Moving forward, I will try to explain on my sewing machine and how I go about it. Also, you can see the way I was explaining the third and fourth. So when you are sewing, make sure you sew on the marked line so that you will not miss the right place. So that's the band, and let's go for the sewing. The first thing I did was to weave all the rough edges on the sides of the Ankara, and then I proceeded to my sewing machine, and then I joined these sides together here and the other side together. After that, I cut it into 2 as I explained earlier. I was joining over here. I cut it into 2 with my scissors, and voila, we are ready to join. Over here, I'm just trying to show you where I joined, and you can see that line that I marked. I later cut it into 2. So I'm cutting it now. After you're done cutting it, the next thing for you to do is to take one of the cut out Ankara layer. Is it layers or layer? And then start joining right away. But before then, you are going to take your Ankara, and then I'm just trying to explain here that make sure you sew on the marked area. You are going to take your Ankara, you are going to notch the center part, and then fold it into 4 and notch the sides. You will understand it over here. That's the center. I will launch it. There was so much heat and I was just crashing my head. Please subscribe to my channel, guys. It's not easy making a video, and then please just subscribe to my channel. After I'm already done doing that, I'll place each. So I know we all know this aspect, so I'm just trying to explain for beginners or so who have no idea on how to join it at all. So I'm just going to be placing everything on their sides. For the first notch part will be for where I joined that half part. The second part will be for the center. The third part will be for the other side that I joined, and the last part will be where it's going to last. After you are done doing that, the next thing for us to do is to make sure that we don't sew to the edge, because what I did was I didn't sew to the edge because I closed each part separately. You can see that part, I closed it separately because I don't want the fact that when I join everything together it will look somehow tacky at the back. So I don't want that look. So I leave about 1 inch allowance and then I leave the same allowance on the fabric as well, so that when I'm joining, I'm going to join it separately. After that, I started, gathering my Ankara layered by layered, and that is just all. So I'm just going to show you the finished look after everything, because I hope by now you should be able to understand what I mean. It's not necessary for you to do gathers, you can actually pleat, but make sure your pleat is smaller. Thank you for watching. God bless. Bye.